Okay, so according to BBC News, Brazil is currently the sixth largest economy in the world, which has created a lot of interest in doing business there. Hello, everyone. I'd like to welcome all of you company representatives today who are here for this consultation in inquiring about expanding your business beyond the U.S. And my name is Gia Sutherland, and my colleagues and I are representatives for the Deloitte consulting firm, and we are all experts in international business relations. Today we are going to discuss with you some of the different aspects of conducting business in Brazil, and we're going to give you our expert opinion on why or why not it is a profitable place to conduct or start a business. So first, I'll be talking about government and politics. Then Juan Grenes will be talking about the economy. Next, Kevin and Thomas will be discussing the geographical aspects as well as the trade regulations. Lorenzo Rubio will be discussing the infrastructure within Brazil. And finally, Rachel Davari will be talking about the culture of Brazil. And I'll please ask you to hold any questions till the end. So to jump right in, as I said, my name is Gia Sutherland, and I have been a partner with Deloitte Company for 5 years now, and I have an MBA in international business. I'm going to talk to you today about government, specifically the structure of the government, the different regulations within businesses of the government, and the plans to reform these implemented regulations. So first off, the structure. Brazil is a federal republic with 27 states and one federal district. It is similar to the U.S. branches of government in that it has an executive, a legislative, and a judicial. It also their president's name is Dilma Rousseff, and she is the first woman president in Brazil. Some ways, they also have 5,000 municipalities. Ways that they differ from the U.S. that are very distinct are they have around 15 main parties political parties that are prominent in the government. And another very big difference is they have very high levels of bureaucracy within the government. And this affects regulations within businesses quite a bit. So small businesses are traditionally controlled by the government through these extensive regulations. They create these inefficient regulatory regimes in which there are paperwork after paperwork, all these documents you have to collect, and oftentimes people will have to go through 12 different government agencies simply to be approved. And we'll have to go through 15 different processes just to get approved and to be signed up, I guess, as a business. The process is extremely long. It takes 154 days on average, which is an extremely large amount compared to the U.S.'s 6 days on average to get a business started up. And also once all the documentation is done, the government loads you with complicated forms of taxes, and they are taxes of all different kinds, And one of the most prominent ones is the labor force, the workforce taxes. And has to do with the fact that that wages are skyrocketing, yet the minimum wage of the country is extremely low, and there's an extremely high gap in that. And it is because companies are having to pay these extra taxes to their employees. And due to all these things, there's only usually a 40% survival rate over 2 years for companies in Brazil. So the reform, the government is currently seeking to reform these regulations that are currently intact because, and the president says that she's trying to reform the Brazil cost, which has to do with the work labor force. And they're also trying to help small businesses in ways that the different state officials are trying to rationalize taxes more so that it's easier for smaller companies to handle these, and the federal government is also following along with this trend. Recent successes have been that the amount of time that it takes is now 119 days to get their business started, and there's only 13 processes, which is still a ridiculous amount, but it's still an improvement. And there haven't been any real signs of extreme tax changes, extreme tax decreases or changes in the government yet, but there are still signs and hopes for small businesses to become more successful. So my recommendation is that if you have the time and the money and you're willing to put forth that effort, then those are the companies that will be successful and the companies that should go after Brazil as an expansion. But there are many companies that do not have this adequate amount of time and money, and they quickly fail. So just to recap what I talked about today, I talked about the basic structure of Brazil's government, the regulations within the businesses, and the attempts at reform to help smaller businesses. And now I'm going to pass on to my partner to talk about the economy.
Hi, my name is Juan Aray. I'm a consultant at Deloitte. I have worked there for several years, and I have a PhD in economics from San Andreas University. And today I'm here to give you advice whether to invest in Brazil from an economic point of view. I'm going to start talking about giving you an overview of Brazil's economy and where it stands today. Also, then we're going to take a look at Brazil's external debt. And lastly, we're going to make a comparison of the freedom of economics against the United States. Brazil's currency is the Brazilian real, 2.08 Brazilian reals. It's equivalent to $1 US. This shows pretty solid currency. The gross domestic product of Brazil is 2.47 trillion, which ranks number 6 in the world, according to a World Bank. Also, its GDP per capita has doubled from the last 5 years. It used to be 7,000 by 2007, and now it's about 12,000. And Brazil is having a great debt right now, and it's even growing with the large events they're hosting, such as the World Youth Day that is gonna be next year, also the World Cup, the Soccer World Cup, which is going to be in 2014, and the Summer Olympic Games, which will be held in 2016. All these huge events they're hosting is going to include a lot of government spending, leading to a great debt for Brazil. And we can see here that from 2007 to 2012, the external debt has grown a lot, and now it's $397 billion, which ranks 25 among the world. But in comparison to the United States, 14.7 trillion, 297 billion is not that much. Now we're moving to the freedom of economy of Brazil and compare it to the United States. And the freedom, the overall score, the United States outperforms Brazil. This is because Brazil is mostly not free in its economy, while the United States is mostly free. This is because business freedom in the United States is free, while in Brazil is almost repressed. Also, the trade freedom, the United States ranks higher, as well as the investment freedom. The financial freedom, it's almost the same, but anyway, the United States is above Brazil. So, is it worth it to invest in Brazil today? Well, according to the Standard & Poor's Investment Index, the grade that Brazil has is a BB+, which this means that it's the highest speculative grade in the market. This, in other words, it's only speculation. It's not the growing economy of Brazil is not actually happening. So, from an economic point of view, after we saw the GDP is growing, however, the debt is great, and it's even getting bigger. Also, the freedom of economy is not high. We can say that from an economic point of view, we do not recommend to invest in Brazil. Now, having said this, I'm going to pass it to my colleague, who's going to talk about Brazil's geographic and trade regulations.
Hello everyone, my name is Kevin Thomas, and I'm a graduate from St. Edward's University as well in international business. And I've been working for Deloitte Consulting for more than 5 years now. Today I'll be covering the geographical aspect of the country and also the trade regulation this country holds. So going to the geography of the country, Brazil has a boundary with every country in South America except Ecuador and Chile. And that's because it is the 5th largest country in the world. By saying that, it holds a home to a lot of hills, rivers, and scrublands. So if you go into the northern part of the country, you will get a lot of hills and mountains. Coming to the southern part of the country, where there will be a lot of lowlands, including rivers, such as the Amazon River, which is the 2nd largest river in the world. In more detail on the environment, there's actually a lot of threat to the natural environment right now in Brazil, because in Brazil there's a lot of natural habitat, up to 4 million species. So the expansive highways and dams in the country, it is affecting the natural environment because there are over 60 dams currently is already built or is getting built. And next, the biodiversity of the country. Since it is the home to the 2nd largest river in the world, it has a big natural rainforest, giving the home to a lot of species, about 4 million to be specific, of plant and animal combined. So all this great biological diversity is getting threatened by the expansion of highways and dams in the country. Next, the trade regulation of the country. There's a lot of regulations and rules that you need to go through to import and export goods into the country. Mainly, there are 3 taxes you have to pay. The first one is the import duty tariff. The second one is the industrialized product tax, and the third one is the goods and trade supervision tax. So on top of that, you also have to pay small other fees to import the goods into this country. But the cool thing that this country has, the Brazilian government came with a computerized information system where you can regulate this import and export trades by different countries. This system is better known as Cisco Next, and if you want to use Cisco Next, you need to be registered in the company's import and export registry. But currently, US is not registered in this system. Thus, we can't really do import and export with this country without paying a whole lot more money. So to get this, you have to talk to the government and get into the registry, which is not too bad, but US is not in it right now. So thus, to import and export goods from US companies to there, if you want to start a business, it's going to cost you a lot of time, a lot of money, and a lot of risk. So by stating all this, I would not recommend a US company to go into business as of right now, unless we get onto this registry system, because going to do business in Brazil will cost you a lot of money, and it is a big risk right now. Today I talked to you guys about the geography and the trade regulation of the country. So, and overall, I just told you guys that we should not do business in Brazil as of right now because of the risk and money you have to spend in this country. So next, I'm going to pass it down to my partner, who's going to talk about the infrastructure.
Thank you very much, Kevin. As Shay said before, my name is Lorenzo. I am a consultant for the Deloitte Group, and I'm specialized in South American and Iberian Peninsula countries infrastructure, which is, by the way, what I'm talking about today. I'm going to divide my presentation in communication, transportation, and technology. First, communication. According to the CIA database, every 20 out of 100 people in Brazil still use fixed line connections. It is a lot. However, due to the less expensive cellular and mobile technology, 120 out of 100 people in Brazil use cell phones, which is more than the population, which makes it rank 5th in the world. Radio and TV channels. Radio and TV are owned by Radio Brand, and we can find more than 1,000 radio channels in Brazil and more than 100 TV stations, which are mostly owned by private businesses. Internet, which is the most important communication system in the world, they are ranked 3rd in the world on internet hosts and one place behind on internet users, having more than 76 million users. Next, I'll talk about transportation. According to the CIA database, Brazil has more than 4,000 airports. It has a very well-organized railroad system too, and it's really big. But however, according to the Encyclopedia of Nations, its most common used transportation systems are the roadways. Anyhow, these are not in very good shape. The Atlantic Ocean borders Brazil from north to south, which may seem like they could have a very well-organized maritime transportation system, but they don't. It's actually very poor, and this is due to the piracy that you can find in Brazil. Next, I'll talk about technology. Brazil ranks at the top of the list in 3 main technology advances. First and most important, biodiesel, which is a substitute for the gas in combustion. It's made out of soy seeds, and that is basically why Brazil invests heavily in this field, because you need a lot of land to produce massively this kind of fuel, and Brazil has a lot of unused land. Next, Brazil invented a few years ago something called the flex fuel car, which is a car that works with ethanol and gas, or a mixture of both. They have expanded all around South America, but it hasn't gotten out of it yet. But they are not only proud of their fuel efficient technology advances, they can be proud also of being the #1 country in the world on electronic voting machines. Since the year 2000, they have been providing each of the 5,559 districts electronic vote, which most of the countries in the world more developed than Brazil cannot be proud of that. Concluding my presentation today, I talked about communications in Brazil and how it's ranked 3rd in the nation in internet hosts. Then I explained I explained the different types of transportation systems and how, according to the Encyclopedia of Nations, the most common used are the roadways. And last, I talked about its technology advances and how they are heavily investing in biodiesel. Overall, Korea's infrastructures, they have a very good technology system and variety of transportation systems. So I would recommend doing business in Brazil. Thank you very much, and I'll pass it out to my colleague, Ray, who's going to talk to you about culture in Brazil. Thanks.
So as Shay mentioned earlier, my name is Rachel Davari, and I'm a consultant for Deloitte with a PhD in communications from St. Edward's University. And today I'd like to talk to you all about the customs, the communication and etiquettes of conducting business in Brazil. So, much like Americans, Brazilians want to get to know the people that they're conducting business with. And this is because they value the people they do business with and the individuals they conduct business with, rather than the company itself, as relationships is one of the key elements in conducting Brazilian business culture. By making close and personal relationships and building trust, they believe that you'll have a greater chance for success in conducting business. Brazilians believe that they prefer to have face-to-face oral communication as opposed to written communication. The relaxed attitude of Brazilians often results in lengthy interactions, but it's important not to rush and to continue developing relationships for negotiations to be successful in the future. Brazilians take time when negotiating, and so it's important to wait for your business colleagues to bring up the business subject rather than rushing the building relationship process and interrupt anyone or look like you're impatient because it's rude in their culture. Some common forms of greeting in Brazil consist of handshakes, which is the most common form of greeting your business colleagues, and some less formal forms of communication consist of kissing and embracing. Women and men greet each other by embracing one another and kissing each other on the cheeks a few times. And when you meet someone for the first time, it's polite to say "muito prazer," which means it's a pleasure. And to your friends, you can say hello in a less formal way by saying "como vai" and "tudo bem." They also exchange business cards during introductions and business meetings. And although Brazil is one of the most has the most English speakers in South America, it would be a good idea to have your business cards be in half Portuguese on one side and English on the other, since Portuguese is the primary language spoken in Brazil. And they also Brazilians pride themselves on dressing well, as the men wear conservative dark suits and the women wear suits as well, but they dress a little more feminine and eloquent by wearing dresses as well. And the women are expected to have good quality jewelry and manicures. The men who are executives are expected to wear 3-piece suits. Their personal approach to handling businesses with a relaxed attitude, their classy professionalism, and their similarities to our culture would make conducting business in Brazil not only enjoyable but easy. And to conclude our presentation, Shay discussed the government structure and regulations and reforms. Juan discussed the economy and compared it to the United States, as the economy in Brazil has more freedom. Kevin discussed the geography and the diversity in the environment of the geography in Brazil, as well as the infrastructure, as well as the trade regulations of importing and exporting goods in Brazil. Lorenzo discussed the infrastructure, and as railroads are the primary form of transportation in Brazil. And lastly, I discussed relaxed culture, how to approach the personal relationships formed when conducting business in Brazil. And we recommend that and encourage you all to do business in Brazil. And I'd like to thank you all for joining me here today, and I'd be happy to answer any of your questions at this time.